Back once again, AD on the radio.
Flitter, it's you and the senorita. Whooper blowing up the tweeter, cause it's me up in the speaker. Knocking the mama seat top down like a player. And the sound up in your ears, it is the dopest rhyme say. Running game like a cheater.
So, Funkhauser's all sad.
Yeah.
All out of sorts.
Uncool,
Why?
dude.
Why?
Why?
What's going on in your world? Let's draw back the curtain on the world of Funkhauser and discuss what is the cause of this recent malaise you find yourself in.
Well, I was racing to work today, hoping to get a little sandwich in me, and there's a Wendy's nearby at work here, and there's not a lot of Wendy's in the neighborhood, and this one's going through a major outdoor construction thing, so it was closed, and I sit here, empty stomach in hand, quite sad that I didn't get my spicy chicken today.
I can't do Wendy's. I can't. I just cannot. Out of all the fast foods. Watch. In the world of radio, we make our money off of, the
right
time that we spend on
Wendy's
the air.
Commercial.
Yeah. They're like, we were going to pitch you to be a spokesperson for Wendy's, and it paid, enough to cover your mortgage every single month. But thanks to you saying that it's not something that you eat on a regular basis, goodbye. But I just can't do Wendy's. Look, Wendy's used to be my favorite thing. Their value menu back in the day used to be my jam. I used to get the Wendy's chili, which apparently is just mostly scrapings from whatever the hell is left on the griddle in tomato sauce. I used to get the Wendy's chili, which I found to be delicious, and a baked potato. When I was a poor kid living in New York City, DJing clubs for pennies on the dollar when I would go to or from the gig and I was hungry. There was one Wendy's downtown that I used to stop at, and I would always get the same thing, the chili and the baked potato, and that was my jam. But when my dad got sick, and came to live with me, he had congestive heart failure. And what you got to do when you have congestive heart failure is you got to purge the house of salt. That stuff could kill you. And so everything was low sodium. And I was a guy that put salt on absolutely everything that I consumed. I was like, this is okay. Yeah, salt gives it taste. Wow, delicious. And here's the thing. When you stop eating salt, you really kind of become a little bit sensitive to it. So when my dad has his heart problem figured out, goes back to Kosovo, which is where he was living at the time. Long story behind that, and we'll get to it at some other juncture in the proceedings. But my dad's heart problem gets better. He goes back to Kosovo. I'm like, cool, I can eat crap again. And my first stop, delicious burger from Wendy's. And I swear to you, I couldn't.
Talk about that square burger?
Oh, I couldn't. And it used to be my absolute favorite. I couldn't. I took 2-3 bites. And I was like, I can't do it. I can't. After having not eaten salt for a really long time, this is inedible to me. There's so much salt in it. And I felt the same way about McDonald's and Burger King and Jack in the Box and all the places where I used to go eat delicious cheap burgers on the regular. But I found Wendy's to be far and away the worst culprit in terms of over-salting their meat.
But sure is tasty, and I'm still hungry, damn it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's killing your heart. Let me ask you this, Funkhauser,
Yes.
before we get into the...
Well, my heart is still alive.
Yeah, before we get into the salty meat of the show, see what I did there? You've got a new sort of domestic situation where
Sure.
you're back and forth between the girlfriend's house, Canadian Jane, and yours.
Yes, learning about Canadian culture.
Yeah. But neither of you has laundry facilities in your building, correct?
No, she has laundry facilities in her building, but it's quarters and push the button and share it with 100 other stinky people.
So you go over to Canadian Jane's house to use her laundry facilities?
Yeah, you could say that. And I washed my clothes there, too.
Does she have to drip dry on a regular basis?
Yeah, you'll have to ask her.
Don't know how or why, but that sounded dirty. But there is sort of an art to doing laundry once you become newly single, and now you're sort of finding your way into a new version of laundry that involves quarters. You're not quite here anymore.
So first marriage over, my wife left. First thing I noticed after she left, my clothes quit washing. And they quit drying and hanging themselves up. I figured they're depressed. Get in the machine, fellas. We got stuff to do. I gotta wash clothes now. I didn't know which detergent to buy. You go to the grocery store and the detergent aisle is like a happy land. All those bright colored boxes, happy names like Cheer and Gain and Snuggle. You know, my life is like beer, pain, struggle. And can't operate the machines. There's too many knobs and switches and levers, dials, settings. I just want to wash my clothes. I don't want to send them back in time or anything. I just want to wash them. It'd be cool if you could. Send it back to 3 weeks ago before they were dirty. What the hell? Send it back to 3 years ago when they were stylish. Why should they suffer?
Oh, laundry. I hate doing laundry. I am a big proponent of someone else washing my clothes for me. Like, I am all about going and dropping off the laundry and having somebody else do it. Now I have laundry facilities in my home. That would be an egregious waste of money. But I did the math, Funkhauser. And something you and Canadian Jane might want to bear in mind is that when it comes to getting through enough quarters to wash and dry all your stuff, especially if it's heavy stuff, if it's like duvet covers and denim, and the amount of time that takes in the dryer, the amount of quarters you got to feed into that thing, you are fiscally about equal if you go to a place that does a wash and fold. You know, you have them wash and fold your stuff, and then you pick it up, and then you're all good, and it's super happy times. Yep, it is. I would advise that. Pay somebody else to wash your skid marks out of your underwear. Don't do it in front of Canadian Jane. Keep the romance alive. Hey, Hogtoberfest. Hogtoberfest for Hungry is this weekend, October 16th through 18th. You'll have a chance to win a 2016 Harley-Davidson Street Glide. Raffle tickets just $10. Proceeds benefit Second Harvest Food Bank of Central Florida's Children's Hunger Programs. Check out all the info at realradio.fm. RealRadio.fm. I'm a professional broadcaster. I can get it right on the 8th try. Today in the show, you and I discuss which presidential candidate's supporters are the worst at spelling and grammar. Donald Trump has a new sworn enemy, and he's a crooner from back in the day that your grandparents used to listen to. And Funkhauser's new committed relationship has had an effect on both his laundry routine and his philosophy of saving his reproductive materials, if you know what I mean. And I think you do.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio.
Every day you're going and working, running that rat race at that pace and that place will leave a bad taste for anyone, everyone working day after day. So buddy, I gotta say, for you, there's gotta be a better way, yeah.
So Funkhauser,
What?
do you know who Donald Trump's new arch nemesis is?
No. Who?
It's no longer Megyn Kelly. He has turned his aggression towards someone else that has dared to speak out against him. This is like, there's so many things that Donald Trump says that, like, on paper make great sense. But when you consider the source, it gets harder and harder. And you know what? As we draw closer to pulling that lever for democracy in 2016, we see his dominating lead start to, like, trail off just a little bit, because as the reality comes in, as the reality starts to sink in about what it might actually be like to vote for Trump, a lot of people are going, he makes really good arguments about some really pertinent things, but then he's beefing with who now? And it's just the thing is, he personalizes so much stuff. I think that's my main problem with Donald Trump. Like, people are just like, he's ridiculous. He's not presidential. He beefs with Rosie O'Donnell over Twitter. That's not a presidential thing to do. Hey. The hero to the Republican folks in this country, in this day and age, the deity, the demigod of the GOP happens to be Ronald Reagan. And it's so funny to watch these guys go up on stage during the debates and be like, I'm a child of the Reagan era. Well, what would Reagan do? And everyone's doing their very best to equate themselves to Reagan in any way, shape, or form they can. And a lot of people saying, like, Donald Trump's not presidential. I will remind you that Ronald Reagan got his start playing second fiddle to a monkey in a movie called Bedtime for Bonzo. So, you know, when you're saying that's not presidential, treat that with a grain of salt. But it's the fact that he personalizes things, that he takes everything, like, he seems so sensitive and he gets so angry about any kind. Look, if you're going to be the bigger, more successful type of person you are, the bigger a target is going to be on your back. Like, we're radio schmucks. And just by being on the radio, we get people that want to tear us down on a regular basis. And it's like someone trying to hand you a bag of crap. you don't have to take it. You just go, that's yours, not mine. I don't have to deal with it. And you ignore it and move on when somebody tries to tear you down. But Donald Trump seems to be unable to do that. And as a result, he has a long series of beefs with a more and more ridiculous group of people as we look at him. And if he didn't personalize things, if he didn't take things so well, personally, I think he would stand a much better chance of being someone that when election day came, people would go, yeah, this guy, click. But the fact that he engages in battles of Twitter and through the press with some of the people that he's beefing with, it just makes him seem, I don't know. It's just when he blows his cool like that, he loses his power. I think when you blow your cool, you lose your power. And Donald Trump seems to be blowing his cool an awful lot in this day and age, especially given who he's now beefing with. Who is it? We'll get into that later on in the show. Right now, though, I wanted to touch on something super quick. We took on the idea of Christopher Columbus and Columbus Day on Monday. Look, we know for a fact that, well, if you dig a little deeper beyond the, hey, this guy is a hero that discovered the new world, that Columbus, not necessarily, on paper, the greatest guy in the world. There's that whole sort of like genocidal father of slavery thing that he has going against him. And a lot of people want Columbus Day to be renamed Indigenous Peoples Day. And, well, we discussed that, and a lot of the more barbaric practices that Columbus picked up, the cutting off noses of people, the enslaving people, the cutting off people's hands if they didn't produce enough gold. These were ideas that he got from a lot of the indigenous people who were very warlike in their own way. Specifically, the cutting off noses to send a message to other indigenous people. That was he borrowed that directly from the folks that he encountered when he landed in what is now known as the Bahamas, I believe, if my history is right. Don't check me on that one. But I do know for a fact my history is correct when I know that there were some other people cutting off noses, and those were the people that he sought to enslave. And he was like, ooh, nose cutting off. That seems to send a message in this community. I'll do that. But it raised an interesting point, and I got an email from my philosopher harmonica playing friend Clay, who is part of the Josh Garrett Band, who listens to absolutely everything we do. Why? Because he's a hardcore musician playing in the Josh Garrett Band, taking it to the people. And when you're a hardcore musician, what do you have? You have lots of time in the van to listen to people like me, and then you're able to respond. And I have some of my best back and forths with the guy responsible for some of this music. Check out the Josh Garrett Band off of Honey from My Queen. That's all right with me. Oh, it's good, right, Funkhauser? Like, so good.
Yeah, buddy. Yee-hoo!
If the Josh Garrett Band rolled through a hood near you and you get an opportunity to see him, you should take it. Anyways, Clay wrote me an interesting letter, and he brought up a very good, cogent point. He said that the decimation of the Native American tribes of the Western Hemisphere was more or less inevitable. Take your pick. It could have been the French, the Dutch, the Spaniards, the Portuguese, the Vikings, or the English. They're spreading across a new world using new shipbuilding technologies. One would think that of those choices, the French would have been better. A more humane choice to conquer the new world, as they tended not to dominate the local tribes quite as much as the English. But it was the Spanish 14 years into a religious inquisition and quite numb to torture and quite numb to the whole idea of torture of non-Catholics who first encountered the natives. As far as Columbus's brutality and barbarism, I don't think it's relevant to compare our morals and ethics of today to those of his 500 years ago. Life in Europe then was, for most people, still nasty, brutish, and short. There was no true justice, people had no rights, and the trades were just starting to burgeon and provide social mobility. I don't care if there's a Columbus Day or not. I just think it's silly to judge historical figures on today's standards and find an attempt to guilt it away. Total waste of time and energy. Celebrate or not, just don't take away my day off. Well said.
Like most kids from a privileged white upper-middle-class suburban background, for a significant portion of his childhood, he was pretty convinced he was down. AD on the radio.
Yeah, oh, let's go. Talking that mess, better act like you know. Oh, let's go tonight. Walk away, punk, yeah, bitch. That's right, I know this. You're nothing but a punk, bitch. You're nothing but a punk.
So his beef with Rosie O'Donnell, that is well documented. Everybody knows Donald Trump has a problem with Rosie. He's had recent problems with the folks over at Fox and Megyn Kelly and a host of other people. But Donald Trump has new beef. Who with? Funkhauser? Do you know who's Donald Trump? Who Donald Trump's latest sworn enemy is?
Guy that bought him the latest mirror that he saw.
No. It's a surprising one just because, it's just like you're running for president of the United States of America, president of these United States of America, which ostensibly means, as we've discussed in the past, that you're going to be leader of the free freaking world. And to start a fight with this guy and to launch a personal attack against him,
Kanye?
which he's done. No, not Kanye. Not Kanye.
That's our next president.
The Kanye's all, people seem to not be taking full notice of Ben Carson getting Kanye's support. You know what that means? That means he can draw people from either side of the political fence. At first, Carson was looking like a mostly GOP candidate. But when someone like Kanye comes out and says, hey, this guy's a genius, listen to him, there's significant power in that. He has a lot of followers, a lot of people that will kind of do as Kanye says. And that has elevated. Look, generally speaking, celebrity endorsements, not that big a freaking deal. But if you're someone like Ben Carson and you can get somebody to cross political fences to lend you their support, that is kind of a big deal. Anyways, here's the dealio. He has new beef, not with Kanye West. Donald Trump has new beef with another person in the entertainment world, though. I guess a guy who might have at one time been considered the Kanye West of his time. Donald Trump is beefing with him, and we'll get into exactly who that is a little later on in the show. Right now, though, let's take a look at the events of today in our segment, My Witness News. In no way, shape, or form fair. Certainly not balanced. Funkhauser.
Yeah.
What is going on in the world? How are you?
Good. This past weekend, I went to JPL, saw some rockets.
JPL, that's Jet Propulsion Labs, is that it?
Outer space, man. NASA.
Yeah.
NASA.
You go see that movie, The Martian?
No, I haven't seen it yet. No, But I did see The Martian, like, in real life. I saw that little guy, robot guy, running around.
JPL is featured heavily in The Martian. The Martian's a really good movie. I really liked it. Generally speaking, science fiction leaves me absolutely cold because I just can't get invested in it. I can't, it's just like, this didn't happen. These people aren't real. None of this is worth me caring about. But The Martian was done in such a way that it really made you feel like it was based on a true story. I don't know how they did it, but you really get kind of like invested in this character that's stranded on Mars. And anyways, JPL features prominently in the movie. And like when you brought up JPL, I'm like, oh yeah, they're the guys that helped get the guy back from Mars. Except that didn't really happen. But in the movie, it did.
They did it from the moon and back a couple of times.
Yeah.
There was a Tom Hanks guy stuck in outer space once.
Who's that guy? Who's that guy from Community that raps? Donald.
Don Glover. Don Glover.
Now,
Donald Glover.
Childish Gambino, as he goes by when he's rapping. He plays a scientist that works for JPL, and that's where I remembered it was a movie. I was like, oh, that's a guy from Community, as opposed to I hate man, if you're an actor, stay out of the public eye. Just really don't, involve yourself with anything or anyone. Just to keep a low profile, because it's hard enough to suspend your disbelief when you're watching a work of science fiction. But if a guy comes on the screen and if you've seen a stand-up special where he's talking about listening to his own music in his car, then it's just like, this guy's a rapper. He's not okay. It's harder to buy into someone when you know about them. I think that's why folks like Leonardo DiCaprio do so well. What do you really know about him other than the pictures you see of him with a constant supply of hot and cold running supermodels that he bangs on a regular basis? You know almost nothing about him. He's not super talky. He's not super in the press, and that makes it easier to buy into the characters that he plays. So yeah, you lost me in The Martian when you brought Childish Gambino on to play a scientist, but otherwise, good stuff. Anyways.
You had me on Mars, Jack.
Yeah, it's good.
News-wise, there's a lot of news going on. A new scientific study shows that men can actually tell when a woman is on her period just by listening to her voice.
Really?
Or I should say, by listening to her voice!
Can you tell? How long you been with Canadian Jane now?
2 months. It's our 60-day. The warranty is now void.
So, so she's had 2 womanly cycles since you've been with her. Were you able to pick up on when that was happening?
No.
Really?
No.
Do you think she's just keeping it on the DL?
Well, some women have cycles, and then some women have scientific instruments to protect the cycles from happening on a regular basis. So, no, I've not experienced the wrath. Maybe there was one day, and she said, "I'm sorry," but or "I'm sorry."
I'm sorry. Yeah, I wonder if like Canadian PMS is more polite than American PMS. Sorry, not myself. Sorry. Menzies, don't you know?
I could probably tell, though, just by listening to a woman's voice. Yeah, sometime around the office here. Oof.
Yeah. For example, when it's that time of month, you can tell from the sound of a woman's voice because it'll sound like this. Nothing's wrong! Leave me alone, you idiot! Give me chocolate! Yep. You can tell by the subtle variation in their tone. I think, man, on the one hand, right now, women are probably not a humongous fan of what we're doing on the radio.
Well, the cool women know that they turn into monsters.
Now, see, look, here's the thing. They don't turn... Oh, Funkhauser. What did you just do?
You know what I'm trying to say.
See, I think a lot of women, and in my endeavor to become more in touch with the female experience, I think a lot of women get upset because, it's upsetting, but also because you kind of wind up not having a ton of control. Like when you remove logic from the equation and it's just emotion and you don't have control over that, well, that just makes you angrier at the whole situation. So my ethos on the whole thing used to be like, you know when it's going to be. Like, you know, and you know when it's going on. So circle the date on the calendar so we know to get the hell out of Dodge for everybody's personal health and safety. Share that information with us because, oh my God, it's a situation that you just can't win because it'll happen and you'll be like, oh, you're just saying that because you're PMS'd. Oh, really? If I wasn't PMS'd, your skid marked underwear would have made it into the hamper instead of onto the floor? Yes, definitely my PMS that's responsible for that. It's a can't win situation for a guy. Noting it, you can't, there's no good way to be around it and circumnavigate the entire situation. So I think the cool, responsible thing to do is preemptively let us know when we should get the hell out of town.
Yeah,
because
there's an app for that I don't
want to hurt your feelings. I want to be sensitive to the feminine experience, but I also have a certain built-in desire for self-preservation, and I just want to remove myself from the area of destruction when at all possible. Is that fair? Does that sound chauvinistic?
The equivalent of a tsunami warning? Is that what you're asking for?
Here's the thing. We are idiots. We are morons. If I'm with a girl, I 100% accept and own the fact that I am a classic guy and an absent-minded, forget-to-do stuff, leave the milk out on the counter kind of way. I am that guy. I'm sorry I'm that guy. I will work on not being that guy. I will really try my hardest to not be that guy, but a lot of the times I will be that guy. I'm no freaking picnic. And ladies, your level of tolerance for us hairy, brutish, farting, knuckle-dragging idiots, you all deserve to be sainted because you deal with us on a regular basis. But, and while I'm willing to accept that, a lot of the time, during a time of the month where you might show all the care and sympathy of a Nazi interrogator, wait, did I say that or think that? During that time of the month when you're going through the glorious cycle that allows you to reproduce and allow for the propagation of our species, those things that you put up with so well on a regular basis just might not sit as well as they usually do. Your level of tolerance will be justifiably eroded by our various and regular acts of stupidity. And now, that's no excuse for our various and regular acts of stupidity, but I would like to be as far away as possible when you are not tolerating my usual acts of stupidity. Usually you're a saint, and during that 1 week of the month where you're not a saint, I just kind of... I want to give you your space to do and be what you got to do and be. Am I digging myself deeper here, Funkhauser? Should we move?
We sort of. I don't know.
What else?
A new study found that playfulness and a sense of humor are two of the top things people find attractive.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm playful. I have a sense of humor. Why have I struck out historically with ladies left, right, and center?
My fat dad bod gut has the best sense of humor.
Hey, wait a second. It's just, life continues to provide all these mysteries about interplay between the various sexes. Playfulness and a sense of humor, two of the top things that women find attractive in men. Which begs the question, how come when I tell knock-knock jokes while simultaneously pogo sticking, chicks avoid me like the plague? I do not know. Move right along, Funkhauser. What else? American
Horror Story Hostel premiered last week. Have you seen any of those American Horror Stories there?
No, it's kind of one of those things that I've given the big mystery. They're on Netflix, right?
Yeah, Goo Goo Gaga is in this one.
Who's that?
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga's in this one. I saw some of the pictures of her from the previews of it, and I was like, wow, they did make her look scary.
So they didn't put makeup on her
leap.
then?
Not a real leap for someone that parades around in a meat dress. Like, you fit right in on anything that is horror related.
Sure does make me hungry, though. Top sirloin you got there on your rump?
But American Horror Story Hotel premiered last week. About a normal everyday family that spends a weekend at a Quality Inn. Have you do you watch any zombie shows, or do you watch what do you watch?
No, I'm so behind on everything. It'd take an epic binge watch to get ahead on anything, but I have a lot of friends that are all into those zombie vampire movie, episodic adventures on TV, and I can't get behind it.
Not so much your thing. I watched 9, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 seasons, plus the 2 movies that were made. I watched 9 seasons and 2 movies of the X-Files over the last couple of months. See, part of my job is I've got to program a radio station, and when I'm programming a radio station, I can't have music on in the background because I got to kind of hear the songs in my head as I'm going, which Metallica or Chili Peppers song will make the folks over at iHeartMedia more money? So as I'm doing that,
reality check there.
I can't have, as I'm doing that, I can't have music on in the background. So I binge watch TV shows, and I've been binge watching all of X-Files, and so compelling. Yeah. I mean, you can see where it started to go south, and there's episodes in that whole bunch that are definitely turkeys, but like a man going into battle, I was like, I'm going to watch even the ones that everyone says suck. And I did, and some of them truly did suck. But overall, very compelling stuff. 9 years worth of oh my God, I wonder what happens next. And, the end sucked too. Like the last episode, the finale, I was like, oh my God, what a waste. If I'd been doing that in real time, if I'd been following it for 9 straight years, I would have been so angry at my television set when the last episode aired. But they've got a new miniseries coming out, so I decided I'd get all caught up in preparation for that. But
do you think it's going to be good, the new one?
Yeah, why not? But I mean, you can tell the premise, the central themes of the show were getting a little tired. It's just how long can we keep this alive? First, we do sort of the ongoing story arc about, aliens and the idea of colonizing America and colonizing the world. And do aliens already walk among us? And, who impregnated Scully? Is that an alien baby? And what happened to the alien baby? And all the above.
Do you want to believe?
I want to believe that I'll enjoy the miniseries when it comes out, but I won't be watching it until it hits Netflix. Commercials? Thank you. I'll pass.
Real radio. 104.1.
Now, more AD on the radio.
Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD. Can't nobody rock a body better than me. Back once again, the ill behavior. Delivering good in your musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD. Can't nobody rock a body better than me.
So Donald Trump has a new political sworn mortal enemy, guy that he's beefing with. Who is it? We'll get into that a little later on in the show. Right now, though, you're 2 months in, Funkhauser, in your relationship with Canadian Jane. You seem to be a family-oriented guy.
Family?
Do you have any kind of desire to reproduce? Have little funks running around?
Junior Funks?
Junior funks.
Not for a while, you know?
Well, here's the thing. If it's not for a while, and, look, 2 months in, Canadian Jane seems like a strong candidate for reproduction. But who's to tell what the future may or may not bring, which is why you might want to indulge in a little bit of this.
Someone told me, they said, 40's the new 30. So I was like, oh, great. So you mean I'm getting herpes again? Am I right, ladies? Yeah, still getting pressure from my family. My father took me aside. He said, your mother and I really want grandchildren. And I said, well, then you better get cracking. I planned ahead. I did. I froze my sperm years ago. I did. And everybody said I was crazy because I didn't go to, a place. Hey, you know how long it took me to fill those ice trays? That's commitment is what that is. Thank you. I just wish we'd stop acting like traditional marriage has been such a huge success. Can we drop that? Really, in America? Our straight marriage success rates are worse than our standardized math scores. 60% end in divorce. That's almost half.
See, yeah, clever. See what he did there. Any interest in freezing your reproductive material?
Frozen Junior Funks? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Just like Snickers bars, I like them room temperature.
Our morning guy, our morning guy in Houston, a guy called Rod Ryan, I think has been planning for the future for a long time, and he refers to his kid as Batch. His Batch is frozen away somewhere, waiting for just the right girl to come along. Anyways, go on with the news before we get into...
Well, what about you, AD Junior, in your future?
You never know. You never know. I mean, it sounds silly, right? It sounds silly. But the idea of carrying on the family name, which I was just like, how stupid and egotistical and medieval is that? I must carry on the family name. It might fall to me to carry on the family name. And it's weird how as the hands of time tick ever forward in their unstoppable march to putting you in the grave eventually, you start to care about stuff like that. And the idea of continuing the family name has kind of crept into my subconscious recently. I have one cousin. I have one male cousin that carries my last name, and he's only 13. So it's kind of a race between me and him, and I can't have the 13-year-old beat me to it to carry on the family name. And the pressure one feels to reproduce to carry on the family name is not alleviated when you go, I got a 13-year-old cousin. Because, who knows what path his life will take? Who knows if he wants to have kids at all? So, it could be down to me. And no one at family reunions or holidays says anything to me about it, but they're thinking it. Go on. What else is going on in the news today?
The NFL has approved more international games through 2025.
Yeah, the NFL going to other countries, putting on exhibition games. I remember it was a really big deal when I was growing up in England and the NFL came over to play. The London Silly Nannies. I don't even...
Is that a real name?
No,
awesome.
That's from Family Guy. From Family Guy, where Peter Griffin winds up playing for the New England Patriots, and he goes over and plays against the London Silly Nannies. But there was a football team in London, and I can't remember what they were called. I don't even know if it's still a thing, but it was just kind of a joke, really. I enjoyed watching the football team in London get decimated by the American team because as a kid, as a young lad growing up in England, I was on my school soccer team. And I remember we were 6th, 7th grade maybe when we were asked to play an English team, an English schools team. And they put us up against a bunch of 8 or 9-year-olds. And we were just like, whatever, this will be cakewalk. And they murdered us. I think they just called the game at like 41-0. Like, just like, because every English kid is brought up playing soccer or football in their world, football, from an extraordinarily young age. They all learn ball control pretty much as soon as they've got the pacifier out of their mouth, in some cases before. So they just destroyed us.
That sounds dirty, but it's not, by the way.
Yeah, it's really not. But I took it as a little bit of poetic justice and vindication when I watched some like American football team come to England and play like the London Silly Nannies or whoever the hell it was and just decimate them. It was like I said, a certain amount of poetic justice and retribution involved in that. But yeah, the NFL, they've approved a whole bunch of international games through 2025 because why should we keep all the crime to ourselves? Go on.
46% of women get depressed after sex.
Yeah, 46% of women get depressed after sex. What can I say? Funkhauser gets around.
That's 1 out of every 2. I'm happy with those.
Yeah, those are good odds. Wow.
I'll just have to fire the guy that takes the poll afterwards.
Using words like fire and poll in a segment about sounds dirty, but it's not. I don't know. I just like. I don't know. Like, if you're really hitting your stride, if the planets are aligned, if the stars are all set, if the ducks are all in a row, if the right tactical maneuvers have been taken, and you get into that sort of like weird zone where you know that you have a better chance than usual of being satisfying. I don't know. 1 out of 2. In terms of sexual experiences with me being satisfying, I think 1 out of 2 is very generous. I would say that, like I'm capable of doing what needs to be done. Maybe 1 out of every 4 or 5 times. 1 out of every 4 or 5 times I feel like a master swordsman, a stallion of a man. And the other times I'm like, sorry.
Hey, look at the other side of that. 54% of women get not depressed after sex.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I like those odds. Are you not depressed? No, I'm not depressed. I win! Bill Clinton ain't got nothing on me.
Now, someone who everybody wants to punch in the face. AD on the radio.
Which presidential candidate supporters are the worst at spelling and grammar, do you suppose, Funkhauser?
Candidates? I don't know.
Which
I think
candidate?
Jeb
Not
Bush
the candidates.
might have
Not the candidates themselves. They're supporters.
Oh, they're supporters?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I'm going with Rand Paul. For some reason, I just, What's the? Do you know the answer?
Racist. Is it racist to be to say that people in Kentucky spell badly? Because that's what you just implied. I don't know if that. What is it like? It's so funny because
this is a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope, and what's very interesting is there was a survey that was done not so long ago about entire states that the rest of the union wants nothing to do with. There was a survey that was done, people across America going if you could just get rid of one state, what would it be? And at number one, you know what it was?
Kentucky. Is it where one of our big Grand Dragons came from? Kentucky?
No. And we talk about the Grand Dragons of talk radio. Let's not imply that. Let's not imply that Rand Paul was ever a Grand Dragon, because that he was not. David Duke, right. A guy who did run for political office in the past, yeah, totally. And I can't remember who David Duke said he endorses, but it was a white guy. But no. Which state do you think the vast majority of Americans want nothing to do with? Think the union would be better off without?
Georgia?
Nope. In at number one. California. Americans don't want California to be. If you could chop off the part of America that you found to be the most infected, most Americans pick California. You know what number two was?
What?
Texas.
Really? Oh, because they're big, like.
Yeah, but here the other thing is like that you have to bear in mind when you say that Texas, like when you say the vast majority of Americans don't want Texas to be a part of America, Texans don't want Texas to be a part of America. There's that whole sort of like United States of Texas, we can secede any day now. So you got to factor that in, that a lot of Texans want nothing to do with the rest of America anyway. And you know what number three was?
Florida.
New York. New York, the three least popular states in terms of taking a survey of everybody in America and asking them which states they would choose to cut out of the union, if at all possible. And at number one, California. And at number two, Texas. And at number three, New York. Do you notice a pattern here, Funkhauser? These are all the states that I call home. These are all the places that I've lived. On paper, I am the most objectionable. I am a combination of the things in America that people find to be the most objectionable.
Oh,
but it brings up an interesting question. I wonder if when you are, I wonder if when you're doing this sort of thing, if you say like you suggested there, like Funkhauser, not me, suggested, anyone that happens to be listening in Kentucky, Funkhauser suggested that people in Kentucky can't spell. Now, it's not racism when you make sweeping generalizations about one state, because I don't know how, but that's definitely racist. When you make sweeping generalizations about one state, you're not being racist, because within that state there are many races. But I don't know if there's a name for it. But yes, which presidential candidate supporters are the worst at spelling and grammar? Have a guess, Funkhauser.
I'm still guessing Rand Paul there.
Yeah, no, not so much. The automated proofreading company Grammarly did a study to find out which presidential candidate supporters are the worst at spelling, grammar, punctuation, and the like on Facebook. And they found that Donald Trump's backers are the bottom feeders at 12.6 mistakes per 100 words. Rick Santorum's supporters are second worst with 11.5 errors per 100 words, followed by Florida's own Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio's backers with 8.8 mistakes per 100 words. They looked at 19 candidates, 14 Republicans, 5 Democrats, and for what it's worth, all 5 Democrats were bunched at the other end of the spectrum. But I don't know, Facebook, I don't know. I get grammar Nazis chasing me around Facebook at all times. I'm like, I'm in a rush here. And then you get into things like Twitter, where punctuation and grammar don't apply because you're trying to keep it down to the number of characters you got to be. Hey, Funkhauser, how much time do we have left in the show?
8 minutes.
Like 8 minutes? All right. So we will get to who Donald Trump is beefing with in just a little bit. Maybe it's a grammar Nazi that caught him on the interwebs making punctuation and spelling mistakes. I don't know. I do know this, though. Let's roll through some of what remains of the news before we talk about who Donald Trump's latest sworn enemy is.
Scientists have gotten
what have they
together.
done now?
They've all gotten together, and they are getting closer to developing an exercise pill.
Yeah.
Well, you take a pill and you don't have to go run around the block? Is that?
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, look, if you're like me, you've tried various forms of exercise over the year.
Over the year?
Over the year. Yeah, over the years, rather. You've done it all. Do you exercise much, Funkhauser?
Just this year.
Just this year?
A couple times. Yeah.
A couple times? You became single.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you had to tighten stuff up?
No. I mean, tighten up. Yeah. The shirts the space between the shirts I wore from medium to large. Heck yeah.
So I mean, did you you became single, and then did you feel like, oh, if I want to convince another girl to let me see or touch a boob, I might have to get on the old treadmill or do something that vaguely resembles exercise. I gotta squat thrust or something of that nature so that I can attract a prospective mate. Did you try and better yourself so you could get more action?
It's a constant uphill battle. But, I tried and I failed.
Yeah. And now you've settled into a life of letting yourself be covered in Cheeto crumbs on the weekend.
Hey,
now that you've attracted Canadian Jane into your life.
It's the month of candy.
Yeah. Well, what would you do if I told you that you could replace the lifting and the squatting and the squat thrusting and the burpees and the jogging and the spin class and the hot yoga and the CrossFit and all the other forms of self-hatred known as exercise with a pill? How would you feel about that?
I'm probably thinking it's going to give me a heart attack and kill me.
Well, yeah, no, it's one of those things like, hey, this pill works to, like it's an exercise substitute. Sweet. Let's try it. You first.
Yeah.
But scientists are getting closer and closer to developing this exercise pill. And what they've done is they kind of like analyze the molecular changes that take place in your body whilst exercising, and they've developed a pill which comes pretty close to replicating that. So the whole thing, it sounds like far off science fiction, but the exercise pill is a real thing. It exists, and it could be available soon. They would like to stress it's not a replacement for exercise. It's for people that can't exercise. It's for people that, have maybe paraplegics or folks like that who have had their ability to go out jogging infringed upon by whatever unfortunate set of circumstances. So they like to stress it's not a replacement for exercise, but this is America. The moment the exercise pill hits, everyone will be like, cool, I can double up on bacon wrap bacon sandwiches because I've got an exercise pill.
Yeah, that motorized chair doesn't only go up and down stairs anymore. It's all over the house, yeah.
I mean, it's America, so there's going to be people like, what? You still have to lift your hand to your mouth? I'm out. Go on. What else?
There's going to be a robot for that soon anyway, too.
Yeah.
The new edition of Neiman Marcus's Christmas book features a $10,000 calfskin journal.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Do you keep a journal? Do you write your thoughts down at the beginning or the end of the day?
Star date Thursday. No.
See, I think it's an incredibly valuable thing to do. I think keeping a journal is a good thing to do. Like writing down your thoughts at the beginning or the end of the day is great for any number of reasons. One, you can kind of look back over the years, see how far you've come, see what you were thinking at that point in your life. I mean, kind of like the further you get from the journal entry, the more interesting it becomes because you go, oh, God, did I really think that? And that's kind of cool and that's kind of interesting. The other thing that I think is valuable about journaling, and hopefully you'll give this a go, but writing down your thoughts at the beginning or the end of the day is, in a lot of ways, a great way to problem solve in your life. Because sometimes just the act of externalizing what you're thinking, seeing the words in front of you on paper, make you go, oh, so simple. But what was I thinking? I know what to do. I know what the way forward is. So for that reason, journaling is a valuable thing, and I think that if you are going to journal, if you are going to keep a diary, you should do it in something nice, something bound, not some loose leaf piece of crap that's going to lose pages over the years. Treat your thoughts with the respect that they deserve. That said, straight from the very bowels of human excess, Neiman Marcus's Christmas journal, $10,000 calfskin journal, I don't know if the calfskin makes it more expensive, is a little excessive, I think. Unless you want the journal for jotting down notes about how much you hate the poor, in which case it's perfect.
Unfortunately, we kind of journal every day, you and I do, but we do it in spoken word kind of thing, and we're using a very expensive journal to do that.
Yeah, I guess,
Aren't
but
we?
It's paid for by somebody else's money, so it doesn't count. Like, I mean, you could buy the $10,000 journal, or you could just walk out into the street and kick a homeless person in the teeth. Sort of sends the same message. Go on.
Donald Trump has a permit to carry a concealed gun in New York City.
Yeah, but he'll only use it in an emergency, like when he sees a Mexican. Yeah, gun control, a hotly contested thing in this country and has always sort of been. And it doesn't matter which side of the political debate you fall down on. It is noteworthy to see which political candidates are strapped, packing heat, so to speak. And Donald Trump is packing heat. So anyone that tries to mess with him will meet with the exact same fate as whatever the hell that thing is sitting on top of his head. It's dead, whatever the hell it is. You know who else better watch out for Donald Trump, now that we all know that he's strapped and ready for action, that he doesn't leave the house without his 9 by his side, or whatever the hell sort of handgun he chooses to go with in his particular situation. Who do you think Donald Trump has beef with, Funkhauser?
Beef? Well...
Think incredibly unlikely singer.
Incredibly unlikely singer, huh? I don't know.
Well, okay,
from
maybe. No. Like, incredibly unlikely singer of Latin origin?
Let's see, there's only 3 or 4. Mark Anthony, Enrique Iglesias, Ricky Martin.
Close.
His father, Julio?
Yeah! Donald Trump's new sworn enemy. His next challenge, dealing with a substantial loss of the all-important Julio Iglesias fan base. Julio's not Mexican, though. Julio was born in Spain, and his most recent album is called Mexico. So,
very confusing.
Ipso facto, naturally, his problem with Trump is over immigration. And how is he taking a stand against Trump? He said, and I quote, "I will never again play his casinos." And right there, you pick up on the Latin flair in the speech patterns. Because if he was the guy from Coldplay, he wouldn't say, "I will never again play his casinos." He would say, "I won't ever play his casinos again." But like the sort of conquistador-esque speech pattern that's there. "I will never again play his casinos. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. I will never again play his casinos." He said, "I don't want to hurt the immigrants all over the world, and there are many casinos I can play that aren't owned by Mr. Trump." Trump responds in typical Trump form, saying, quote, "Good. I don't like his voice or his performance anymore anyhow." By the way, you know how we said that Trump supporters were worse at grammar? Look what he did there. He ended his sentence with a preposition. "I don't like his voice or his performance anymore anyhow." Go figure. Hey, thank you so much for hanging out. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again.
You know how a lot of times you feel like it's cool to turn the other cheek and give people the benefit of the doubt even when they don't deserve it.